What's up, guys? It's Lord Both here for another video, and PlayStation fanboys really want you to think that Ghost of Yotei is successful. In fact, this game is so successful, Spin Machine was in full force from launch day, even before launch day, you might argue. Because here on Twitter X, you have Jay Plays Games stating, Ghost of Yotei has sold 1.3 million copies as of today. I don't think that boycott worked out at all. He's got the little picture here of the 1 million copies sold, right? He's also quote tweeting King Gamer, who states, what happened to that boycott, with pictures of bestseller lists and Ghost of Yotei is on them, right? And here you have Millie Almond stating, hearing 1.3 million sold on first day for Yotei, ever so slightly ahead of Tsushima's first 24 hours of 1.25 million. Tsushima kept pace on its second day with another 1.15 million. Can Yotei keep up? Just for a little comparison there, that means that the sequel to the original game is only doing about 500k more or so than the original. So, I guess that's a win. It's doing more in sales, but not gangbusters. You would think with, how well the first game was received and all the marketing around this game, it might actually do really well in sales and actually do way more than just 500,000 more than the original game. Especially considering that most of the time in gaming, sequels actually do a lot better than the first game. But there's been a lot of controversy around this game that I think has dampened the hype that we'll address in just a minute here. But in a quote tweet of that tweet, Noir, Madcap412, and he's a Sony pony himself, he states, I think you're making up your numbers, little bro. Ghost of Tsushima sold 2.4 million units in 3 days. Ghost of Yotei needs to make more than that to prove the haters that the boycott did not work. And it gets worse than that because Christopher Dring, who is editor-in-chief and co-founder of The Game Business, he states that the UK box launch of Ghost of Yotei is really good. It is number 1, which means it beat the second week of EA Sports FC 2026, which doesn't really mean a whole lot anymore, seeing that EAFC, formerly known as FIFA, has gone downhill aggressively. It's still massively popular worldwide, yes, but it has gone downhill aggressively. And he states, and sold almost 3 times what Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 did on the Switch. Yes, very strong comparable games right there. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 on the Nintendo Switch compared to Ghost of Yotei on PlayStation. A lot of crossoverage with those kinds of fans. I can see that. He goes on, I don't report on physical charts much these days, but I thought this notable. Somebody asks, any comparison with Ghost of Tsushima possible? He replies, it's down about 40%. But I still find it impressive. How are you gonna report that the sales compared to the first game it's down 40%, but it's still impressive? No, that's the opposite of impressive. That's concerning. It's impressive in the way that you somehow were able to shave 40% from the success of the preceding game, but that's about the only way it's impressive. It's impressive how bad it's failing, and this is just the physical launches in the UK. What does that mean for the rest of the game selling? Madcap quote tweets that, also stating Ghost of Yotei is selling lower than Ghost of Tsushima. Boycotts work. Celebrate, guys. Journalists are gonna seethe and cope. So at this point, I think we can come to the conclusion that the numbers are kind of out on Ghost of Yotei as of right now. Sure, it could still do gangbusters in sales. But what I think is quite apparent is that even if it doesn't, Sony fanboys are going to say that it did and find any way to try to prove that it did, and you will never convince them otherwise. And they will always claim that the boycott failed. Unless this game fell flat on its face and its sales just nosedive and they didn't make another dollar since, then they would complain that, oh, it was fans boycotting and review bombing and hating on the game. When in reality, yes, a lot of people did boycott the game and simply not want to buy the game because of certain political reasons. Those being the fact that a game developer, a prominent game developer for Sucker Punch that developed Ghost of Yotei, came out and was making celebratory tweets and retweets out on Blue Sky about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And yes, that game dev was let go. But you know who weren't let go? All the administrators above her at Sucker Punch who were liking her quote tweets and agreeing with her, who still own this game. It's still their product. So you're still giving money to people who agree with people that celebrate the assassination of somebody because of their political beliefs. That's insane. That's not just, oh, we believe in, single payer healthcare or tax the rich at 100%. That's literally giving money to somebody who, is okay with the thought of people murdering other people for their political beliefs. So when absolute idiots like Synth Potato and other people on the internet come out and state, oh, people just don't want to buy this game because they don't agree with political opinions of other people. How can you do that? How can you not agree with somebody politically and then choose not to buy a good product? No, I'm not buying the product because of their politics. I'm not buying their product because their politics is so religiously fervent to them that they are okay and celebrate political assassination. That's not a thing that should be rewarded with money. And if you think that's cool, you're a crazy person too. But beyond that, beyond the boycotts for those reasons, you also have mainstream publications coming out like this. From IGN, a quote from their article, "I am a huge fan of PlayStation's first-party offerings, but where in the past this brand of glossy storytelling felt like new ground being trodden, I can't help but feel that recently it's become the well-worn road." And basically in the review, they kind of allude to the fact that the games all feel the same in terms of story and the direction their narratives go. And while I don't actually agree with that 100%, I do agree that they do fit kind of the same thematic tropes and story tropes in the directions they go narratively. And I do think IGN is on to something here. Weird thought, I know. But they are on to something here in the way that it's a little stale, because visually and kind of mechanically, we're playing the same games over and over again. That's what first-party PlayStation games feel like. You're starting to get the picture of what all first-party PlayStation games are always going to be, which is hyper-realistic graphics, consistent yet uninnovative mechanics, and stories and political inserts that will either piss people off or be in one ear and out the other. Which is interesting because everything I've seen about the praise of Ghost of Yotei has been about graphics, how good the game looks. There's also been some praise I've seen there about the mechanics, how smooth the game flows, etc. None of the praise I've seen has been about the game's story, its narrative. Nobody has a word to say about it. But yeah, in terms of what I think this game is going to do, I'm not really moved from where I've always been. I think the game is going to make money. I think it's going to be profitable. It might even end up making a little bit more money than Ghost of Tsushima. But you know what? It could have made a whole lot more money than Ghost of Tsushima if the devs weren't so loud about their politics, if they tried to do things that were, innovative and not just the same thing that Sony first parties are doing consistently over and over. And if, yes, they used a male protagonist or a female protagonist that doesn't A, hate your guts if you don't believe what she believes, and B, is a little bit easier on the eyes. But yeah, this game's going to do all right. It's not going to do what it could have done. And hopefully Sucker Punch learns a lesson from that and how they move forward in terms of controlling the narrative and the hype around their game and just the development of their games overall. Give us more of Tsushima, less of this. But hey, those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go and leave them in the comments. If you liked this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.